In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Hello and welcome back to the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane, thank you so much for tuning in on all of our formats here on ABC News Radio KMET. So happy to have you. CES 2020, I had a lot of fun, and if you have been following me for many years, you know that's like my playground. I like to roll around, see the cool technology out there, and one technology that really caught my eye, and if you are viewing this right now, either on live stream, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. Here, I had a chance to make a pizza. It was so good. At first, I couldn't believe that the good folks over at Picnic allowed me to do so, because I break stuff, right? But I had a great conversation with the CEO, Clayton Wood. Really connected with him. Really awesome guy. And I wanted to reach out to him to see how things are going now in the midst of COVID-19. Is there a push and demand for innovation when it comes to robotics in the restaurant field? And also, are investors taking notice? I am so happy to have with me right now this next gentleman. He's an Aggie. He's an Husky. And I'm so happy to call him my pal. Talking about Clayton Wood, CEO of Picnic. What's going on, Clayton? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Paul. Really glad to be here.
So, Clayton, if college football ever ramps up again, if the Aggies are playing the Huskies, who are you going to root for?
Well, that's a tough one. That's takes up most of my Saturdays to try to squeeze in both those games.
Yeah,
but I think this year it's could be the Aggies' year if they actually play. So, got to give them a shot at the top.
So, Clayton, it's great to catch up with you. We had a blast together at CES 2020. You let me make a pizza. The pizza was delicious. We had a lot of fun, Clayton. And first, before we get started, hope you and the family and the team are all doing well and staying safe during COVID-19, my friend.
We are all safe and healthy, and very grateful for that. Hope the same is true on your side. And at CES, I tell lots of people that CES story about your visit, and everybody gets a big kick out of it. That was a great time.
Hey, I appreciate that. I know some of my friends in my circle of the disabled circle, they're like, wow, you were able to make a pizza? I said, yeah, it's all automated, man. We can do this. We had a lot of fun. And again, thank you for allowing me to do it, Clayton. And so what you guys been up to since CES 2020? A lot has changed for all of us.
It really has. It really has. Well, CES was kind of the culmination for us. We were making pizza on the show floor. We actually got named to 2 different Best of CES lists, even though we weren't even an exhibitor at CES. So that was great fun. So we immediately started working on our next version, which is easier to clean, more reliable, ready for commercial deployment. So we're actually getting ready to deploy that this quarter, just in a few weeks. We're deploying that with our first customers, and we're excited to do that.
That's awesome. And Clay, we've been playing a little bit of the video while we're just chatting right there, so people can see me doing my Chef Boy Paulie impersonation when it comes to making pizzas and everything. And Clayton, one of the things I really wanted to chat with you about, especially during COVID-19, is that this piece of innovation, or the innovation that you guys are working on, it makes the environment in a restaurant, especially in the kitchen, more sanitary. And am I accurate in saying that, Clayton?
You're absolutely true. You can make a pizza basically with nobody touches the food. I mean, you do have to load in dough, but everything else is fully automated, and it can flow right into the oven. So you can go straight from starting the system to making a finished pizza. Nobody touches it. And I was just seeing some data this morning that said that in a post-COVID world, people going back to restaurants, what are their concerns? And 1 out of 3 people are concerned about the workers touching the food because has heightened awareness of the risk.
And Clayton, I kind of told the story before I had you on. You and I chatted about this. I remember when I was in elementary school, I worked in the cafeteria, And there's one thing that everyone had to have in the cafeteria. We had to have gloves. We had to have a hairnet. And if you had a jerry curl, you used to have a plastic bag around your head so things wouldn't get everywhere. You had to have a hat on and everything. And it seems like that in the restaurant world, professionals stop doing that. And that always bothered me, Clayton. But I'm so glad with innovation like you guys have. I mean, it's really cementing my hope and really helping me to see that we can have a clean cooking environment that we can all trust and safety.
Absolutely. I think it has really raised everyone's consciousness. I know when we started this, one of our investors is in the restaurant business, and he pointed out, if you get someone to put a lemon in your drink, you probably got somebody's fingerprints on that lemon, and it's going right into your drink. And it's like, oh, I never thought about that. So there's a lot of those personal contact issues in food safety that people are going to have heightened consciousness about, and nobody wants anybody's personal contact anywhere near their food these days. And I think that's probably going to be a lasting trend into the future. I don't think anybody's going to want to go back.
And that's why, when we look at what we're dealing with right now, Clayton, it's really a horrible situation that we're dealing with. But there's so much that we can learn from this, just about being more sanitary, just practicing things that we took for granted. When we were younger, Clayton, I mean, our moms or our grandparents, aunties, uncles would smack our hand when we didn't have clean hands. And it seems like as we've gotten older, we have forgotten just some of the hygienic rules that we were guided at when we were younger. And when we look at just having this piece of innovation, this robotic piece of equipment that makes pizzas, it seems like this is really catching the eye of some VCs out there, some investors, because let's face it, the economy now is kind of on shaky grounds, and there's still ones out there who want to invest, and they're looking at things that is going to further just our use out there, and really so they can get an ROI. And why do you think that this innovation right here, that investors are looking at this as a way of, hey, let me put some capital in there because I think it's to the right side of history?
Absolutely. I think there's multiple issues there. One is obviously restaurants have changed forever. A lot of the changes that are happening now were already underway. The trends toward delivery and carry out versus dining in, there was already a labor shortage before. Now there's no labor shortage, but the labor is a problem because people don't want workers working next to each other. We spoke to a potential client last week who's a hospital, and they have 4 people on their pizza make line, and they're thinking, well, if one of those people gets sick and they're standing right next to somebody else, they make somebody else sick, they're thinking about all those issues. And this is the way the investors are looking at it. They're looking at, what does the world look like now that the world has changed? What's going to happen in the future that's different? And looking at restaurants needing to improve their margins because they're obviously under tremendous economic stress, and then restaurants needing to change their fundamental operations, reducing the number of workers in the kitchen, reducing the risk of disease transmission. And then finally, one of the more savvy investors that we spoke to, who's looking at it more from a macroeconomic standpoint, he's saying, well, traditionally, if you have a recession, any kind of economic downturn, automation always does very well on the recovery because companies are looking to get back to their prior level of profitability as quickly as possible. So ready to go automation is a great bet in a recovery situation. And we're seeing, even now, we see increased interest from investors as people are getting over the shock and awe of being in this pandemic situation. And they're beginning to say, okay, what does the world need now to operate, and what's going to be interesting in the future? And just in the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of increased interest.
And Clayton, when we look at robotics as a whole, I remember it was in 2016, I was on a panel for Black Enterprise for a Tech Connect summit that they were doing. And the panel before me had a group of engineers there, and they were talking about how there was a Mickey D's in Arizona that was fully automated, where you went there were no workers in there, and we were all like, "Oh man, this, I can't visualize that. What's up with that?" We transport 4 years later. It seems like we want that now because just of safety reasons and just looking at the future and how things are going, when you have the human element that's taken out of something like this, does it make the experience more enjoyable or less errors for the consumer out there? What's been like the data looking like on that, Clayton? If you can speak on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there was already one of the main trends in restaurants is digitization. People actually they're accustomed to doing transactions through their phone or through a screen, and they like doing that. In fact, some of the younger people, they prefer dealing with a screen than dealing with a person. But then you also end up with less errors, more consistency. Consistency in the pizza business is the number one issue that we've heard from customers. What they're looking for is they want to consistently make the same pizza because it's their recipe. And if someone wants to come in and customize their order, they'd love for it to be customized consistently. That, if they want extra cheese, they want the same amount of extra cheese each time. And if you have one of these restaurants where you go in and you give a verbal instruction to a worker and they put a little of this, a little of that, if you do that 3 times in a row, you're going to get 3 different pizzas because the different way the worker is going to work. And the restaurant doesn't actually know how much ingredient was consumed. So as you're trying to improve consistency and efficiency, eliminating that human element has a lot of value. And so that was already a trend happening before. And again, just accelerating. Everything is happening digitally now. Restaurants that were dragging their feet on doing any kind of a digital interface are now forced to do digitally because no one's going to go in and place an in-person order in a restaurant. They can't. So it's all happening really fast, and it's gonna really help restaurants be more efficient and run better as businesses. And we've seen how thin their margins were and how fragile they've been. And hopefully the industry can come out healthier. It's a lot of pain and suffering in the industry, but we're hopeful that we'll have a healthier food service industry coming out of this.
And I can attest to the fact I can co-sign on that, Clayton, because when I made that pizza at CES, it had enough pepperoni, it had enough cheese, enough sauce, and the cool thing about it was every bite that every slice that everyone had the same experience. I've ordered a pizza before where some of the toppings are kind of sparse on one side and kind of plenty on the other side. And now my wife and I are fighting over which side is ours. So this will save a lot of disagreements out there, Clayton, what you guys are doing with this robotics. It's like truly amazing. And Clayton, when we look at the ones who kind of balked at this maybe a few years ago, maybe even a few months ago, and how things have changed, what do you think their mindset is now, Clayton, looking at the way things are going?
I think, right now, in the middle of a crisis, everyone's focused on survival. How can I operate and still be around coming out of this? And if you're a deep-pocketed brand or you have a lot of locations, we've spoken to some big customers who are their revenue. We talked to a big restaurant operator for airports. They have 2,000 locations. Their revenue went from essentially $2 billion a year to zero overnight. And so that's a big blow for them. But they're a large company that can afford it, and they're going to take this opportunity to digitize and come out with a more efficient operation. If you're a smaller independent restaurant, we're installing it one next week. They're seeing how they've got a skeleton crew because they can't afford, their volumes are down, and they're seeing how their manual processes are breaking when they have a Friday night rush, even though the rest of the week is slow. And they're realizing how much they need some systems to help them be more efficient and operate, get the orders in, get them consistently, get them out to the customer. They can't afford to be disappointing customers because there's a lot more choices even in this world where restaurants are closed, a lot more takeout and delivery options now. Everybody's competing for that same customer dollar. If you can't deliver on time and deliver quality, you may not be around.
And Clayton, I will be the first to tell you, when I go to a restaurant now during COVID-19 and I'm ordering curbside or having something delivered, I'm checking out the people who are handling my stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just skeptical like that now, just because of how we're living and where we're living in and the time that we're living in. And this will reassure the public out there, because I think you talked about earlier, even post COVID-19, some of us are still going to be like, wait a minute, let me make sure everything is cool, and to maybe have restaurants showing, hey, we have the picnic here, we have that and that. Like, oh yeah, that's a smile of approval. That's like the good. Was it the good home? I forget. Better home seal of approval. So I'm dating myself with that. But you know what I mean, Clay. I think it
No,
was just
absolutely.
yeah. I
In
think it.
fact, I saw an article this morning in one of the industry blogs. I've tweeted about it. Their prediction for the future is what they call contactless everything.
Yeah.
Everyone has this heightened awareness. They want to know, how is the food being handled? How is it being brought to my table? If you're getting delivery and you get the statement from the restaurant about what they're doing, and then you see the delivery guy and he gets out of his car and he's not wearing a mask or gloves and he's just handing the thing over. It's like, yeah, it makes you uncomfortable. And I think that discomfort, that awareness is really going to stick with us. It just like, the shock of terrorism, and everybody started paying attention to abandoned bags and strange behavior. People are going to be paying a lot of attention to how their food is handled from now on.
And Clayton, spot on. Clayton, those are words to live by. I love the way you articulated that. And I put this on the Twitter, but I took it down because I didn't want nobody to lose their job. But you might have saw this, but I took it down. I went to one of the local restaurants up here because I'm trying to, help my economy up here and everything where I live at. And this was right after in California that even in San Bernardino County where I live, where they said mask and gloves, especially when you're working at food. So the young lady who bought my food out had no mask, had no gloves. And I looked over at my wife. I said, this is ridiculous. I cannot believe this. And it's just something that we have to pay attention to. And that's why robotic innovation, like what you guys are doing over at Picnic, is just so, it's like, man, visionary. When we had our discussion in January, my friend, we both had no idea how the world was going to change just in those few months. And it seems like 10 years ago, Clayton. It was only a few months ago. And to see where it's at, Clayton, man, I tell you.
No, it's everybody's got to eat and everybody's worried. And this is like one thing people don't want to worry about. You worry about going to the grocery store to buy food. You worry about who's going to bring your food and how is it prepared. People are looking for a safe port in a storm, and they would love to know their views have softened, let's say, on automation, however they felt about it before. They like the idea of nobody touching the food and having it being made in a contactless way. I think that's going to be a really appealing idea in the future. And it has the added benefit of helping the struggling industry get back on their feet and find a more efficient way to operate.
I totally agree. And I remember when we chatted again in January of this year, Clayton, you said that you guys are working on a taco prototype. How's that coming, my friend?
Well, yeah, it's funny you should mention that. As some of the customers who are coming to us now, they're not coming to us just because we're doing pizza. They're coming to us because they're looking for automation. And some of these guys their main thing maybe sandwiches or tacos, things other than pizza. And we want to be opportunistic and we want to meet our customers where they are. So we may be moving up our schedule to look at other foods beyond pizza.
And before I let you go, looking at the way technology is today and how your company is a major part of this, Clayton, when you were in school, when you were at Texas A&M and then at the UW, did you ever think that you would see a time like this where food automation would just be starting to be like the norm for us?
No, I have to honestly say no. It's also interesting to me to see all the companies who are working in food automation. There's a lot of new companies probably haven't even heard of yet, but there's a lot of companies who have tried and have failed or are making major pivots trying to make it work. It's a hard thing to make it work. And we consider ourselves in a great position because of the approach that we've taken. And we think we're going to emerge as a leader because our system really works and it's really cost effective and it's versatile. And we think that there's going to be a lot more of this. It's not an easy problem to solve, or it would have already been solved. But clearly, the time is now for this kind of technology. The world needs it.
Well said, Clayton. Well said. And when they come to you, these new companies, like, hey, Clayton, can you tell me all your secrets? And Clayton, I'm gonna tell you what an old wise street dude told me when I was growing up, because I wanted to find out how he was able to have the nice clothes, have the nice car, and everything. And he told me, he said, son, let me tell you something. He said, game is sold and not told. So what he was telling me was that if I needed to find out his secrets, it was going to cost something. So when they come to you, Clayton, you tell them, we worked hard for this. So if you want to know what I know, it don't come for free.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you, Paul.
There you go, Clayton. That was my, I guess, my class in Street Hustle 101. But you can take it or leave it. But hey, always great catching up with you, Clayton. Is there anything else out there you'd like to articulate to the viewer and the listener out there, just about picnic or just in general that the public needs to be aware of?
I would just say if you want to learn more, you could find us at hellopicnic.com, on Twitter, picnic at Picnic News. We'd love to hear from you if you've got an interest. We're a new company, but I think you'll be hearing more from us in the very near future.
Yes. And Clayton, I'm so happy that you and I met and been able to keep in contact with each other, because I've been watching from afar these last few months, and you're absolutely right. You guys are going to emerge as the leaders out there and continue much success. Continue to stay well and healthy out there, my friend, and we look forward to hearing more great things coming out from Picnic.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's great to see you.
That's my pal, Clayton Wood. Had to give him a little street 101. Game is sold, not told. I mean, you got to keep it 100 sometime, right? But hey, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. I really appreciate having you guys with me. Look forward to talking to you next show. Until then, take care, folks, and please be safe out there.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.